The film opens with a former henchman named Cash, who's left behind the sinful life to redeem his good side. He visits his drunkard brother-in-law, Finney, and his daughter, Savannah, who aren't doing so well after the death of his sister, Rachel. Cash wakes up Finney to work the farm Rachel has left them. There, the two help a mare deliver a baby, after which Cash offers Finney to grab breakfast together. He passes and sends Savannah with him instead. Cash takes Savannah to the church first to attend Pastor Wilder's sermon. After catching up with Wilder, Cash takes Savannah to a diner, where his former employer's thugs pay him a visit to deliver a message regarding his farm. Cash returns to the farm and confronts Finney about the encounter. He drops the bomb that he took a loan from Big Cat, with his farm as collateral. Cash scolds him for getting himself involved with a loan shark like Big Cat and decides to take matters into his own hands. Meanwhile, two rookie thugs attempt to rob Big Cat's one of many drug houses, not knowing the place is rigged with traps. Eventually, the two get trapped and fail miserably. Back on Cash's side, he pays Big Cat's son, Zeke, a visit for legal advice since he's a lawyer. He sides with Big Cat and explains that his deal with Finney is within the legal boundaries and has the right to seize their farm if Finney fails to pay the debt. On the other hand, Big Cat sends his minions to toy around with Finney to remind him of his debt. They beat Finney up and drag him outside, where they shoot near his ear to temporarily turn him deaf. When Cash returns and finds Finney beaten up, he becomes baffled. He helps Finney back inside and asks Savannah for an explanation. When she mentions Big Cat's thugs, Cash heads to the county's sheriff, Hollister, to file a report against Big Cat for beating up Finney. But Hollister suggests submitting solid evidence to put Big Cat behind bars. Left with no choice, Cash marches to Big Cat's house the following night. His path is blocked by dogs. Simultaneously, Big Cat makes her entrance and turns out to be an older woman, who's also the queenpin of the county. For the sake of old business, she lets Cash in. He demands an explanation for having her men sent to his farm and beat up Finney, which is immoral. Big Cat reveals it was her way of sending a message and having Cash over, because she wants to offer him his old position back since she's expanding her empire. At first, Cash refuses, but when she threatens to bury him next to Rachel, he agrees. She lays out 3 gigs for him and declares his debt settled once he's done the job. Cash devastatingly returns to the farm, but becomes less devastated once Finney promises to quit drinking and look after Savannah. On the contrary, Big Cat is seen torturing one of the previously caught rookie thugs into finding out who they really work for, but they swear they were only trying to steal some pills. She lets him go and sends Cash and the Buck to tail him in order to catch bigger fish. This way, Cash and the Buck find out his gang is planning for a payback. The Buck immediately calls his sidekicks and decides to kill the thugs right away. He sends Cash to the back and enters from the front. As he roasts everyone with bullets, one of them tries escaping from the back. Sadly, he's caught by Cash. The rest of the gang shows up there and kills the escapee. The next day, Cash hunts down a deer with Finney, who brings it to the farm and teaches Savannah how to separate the skin from the meat. The same night, Cash catches up with Pastor Wilder over drinks about their dark days working for Big Cat together. We get to see that both of them have a burn mark on their right hands, given to them by Big Cat as a price paid for leaving her. He returns home and sleeps. Unfortunately, duty calls at an odd hour. Big Cat requires his services and considers it his second task. She partners him up with another henchman named Wes and asks the two to provide security to her associate, Lazarus, on his way to striking a deal with potential buyers. Big Cat changes her mind and calls Wes and alters her instructions about Lazarus. She orders him to kill him after striking the deal because she suspects he's double-crossing her. The incompetent Wes misunderstands her command and kills Lazarus before the deal. He begins panicking, so Cash helps him calm down and hide Lazarus's body. When the buyer, Dominic, shows up with his men, he questions Lazarus's absence. Cash tries to convince him he couldn't make it, but Dominic doubts him, resulting in a crossfire. Dominic and his guard end up dead, leaving behind a younger guard. He tries to flee, but Cash shoots his leg and forcefully strikes the deal by handing over the products and receiving cash, just how it was originally planned. Finney shows up to pick them up. They end up setting their van on fire and take Lazarus's body to dump it. Afterwards, Cash secretly meets Deputy Duke, who works for the sheriff. He rats out Big Cat's recent drug deals, but Duke emphasizes finding evidence tied up with Big Cat first. Cash appears clueless regarding the evidence, so Duke promises to find out from the DA's office what kind of evidence is required and report to Cash later. The next day, Finney and Cash teach Savannah to shoot, because trouble can knock on their doors at any hour. Elsewhere, Deputy Duke spots a junkie girl driving away, so he stops her for inspection. She tries to shoot him, so he ends up cuffing her against her will. She threatens him by mentioning she works for Big Cat, but he doesn't listen and checks her vehicle. He finds her trunk infested with the drugs, so he decides to call Cash that night and helps him figure out what evidence to collect. He asks him to mark Cat's drug lab locations on the map for them to convict her. Soon, Cat sends her thugs to pick up Cash for his third task. It turns out to be a party thrown for Zeke, where she announces how she has future plans for Cash and her men by making truckloads of money. While everyone cheers, Cash recalls how the heartless Cat made him burn his hand for leaving. Meanwhile, Cat brings Deputy Duke as her entertainment source for messing with her business. She brings in her men to torture him into spilling who his source is. The men break his knees, but he still refuses to rat out Cash. He begs to be spared, but Cat announces his public execution. Cash intervenes and tries to make up excuses to kill Duke later, but the ruthless Cat slits Duke's throat and orders Cash to feed his body to her dogs. Cash considers it his last job, but the twisted and demented Cat calls off the deal and wants to enslave him for longer. When Cash is dropped back home, he has a breakdown for realizing what he was getting himself into. Things get worse when Cat's men access Duke's phone and find out he's been in contact with Cash all along. Cat becomes furious at the betrayal and orders her men to kill Cash and his family. Finney is on his way to take Savannah to church, so he calls Cash to join in, but he cancels because he's planning on taking down Cat. While Cash begins pinning the drug lab's locations on the map, Finney attends Wilder's sermon, where he gets emotional and walks out. When Savannah comes to check on him, he breaks into tears and apologizes for not being a good father. Wilder also joins him after the sermon and encourages Finney for getting better. When Finney and Savannah walk back home, Cat's men ambush them. They brutally beat Finney up, so Savannah starts screaming. Luckily, Wilder hears her and comes to her savior. He chases the thugs away and takes Finney to the hospital, but he unfortunately passes away. When Cash finds out about Finney's death, he takes it personally and decides to put an end to Cat's wrath. The plot reveals a bigger twist when we see the sheriff confronting Cat about Finney's murder and suggesting she play it safe because he's having a hard time covering her dirt. Back in the hospital, Cash prays with Savannah and Wilder, asking God for strength to avenge Finney. He decides to take out Cat's men to leave her defenseless. He spots one of her men dealing with a junkie and begins shooting at them. By the end, the man gets shot in the head, while his car knocks out Cash. When he regains consciousness, he finds his vehicle keys gone, so he ditches the vehicle and starts running as Cat's men start showing up. When Cat arrives at the scene with Hollister, they spot Cash's vehicle and figure he's behind it. Henceforth, Cat sends her men to find Savannah, who's under Wilder's protection. He fights them to protect her, but she surrenders herself to save Wilder. They kidnap Savannah and tell Wilder to send Cash to trade his life for Savannah's. When Cash finds out about this, he teams up with Wilder and kidnaps Zeke in return. Cat gets disappointed to hear about Zeke's abduction and the counteroffer to trade Zeke for Savannah. After negotiation, the trade-off is decided at Cat's mansion. Cat leaves west to look after the tied-up Savannah and leaves. Cash secretly infiltrates the mansion and hides in the bushes, where he spots a bear trap. Meanwhile, Wilder pulls up in the mansion's driveway with Zeke strapped to his car, so the men don't shoot him. He forces Cat to hand over Savannah first, to which she hardly agrees, and orders her man to kill Wilder the second he gets Zeke back. Miraculously, Savannah breaks free and shoots Wes. Baffled, Cat orders her men to kill Wilder and sends Buck back inside to capture Savannah. Savannah takes a shot at him too, but misses. Outside, Wilder is being cornered by the men, but he manages to take down one of them. Simultaneously, Cash ambushes them from behind and takes down two of the men. He worries for Savannah, so he goes straight inside the mansion to look for her. Zeke has the opportunity to run away, but instead decides to shoot Wilder. Wilder ends up shooting him instead, so he takes refuge in the bushes, where the dogs attack him. While Cat runs to save her son, Wilder guns down one of the main guys and gets shot in return. Inside, Savannah runs out of bullets while still being chased by Buck. Cat becomes mortified to see her dogs feasting on Zeke's corpse, while Cash attacks Buck to save Savannah. Cash pins him down and disarms him, but he pulls out a dagger and stabs Cash off guard. Cash retaliates by stabbing the dagger in Buck's neck and ultimately killing him. He now takes Buck's gun and runs away with Savannah, but Cat shoots him in the leg. He still tries running, but Kat makes another shot, prompting him and Savannah to consider hiding instead. Cash makes the bigger move by sending Savannah away while staying back to cover for her. Soon, he runs out of bullets and gets shot in the shoulder. As Kat continues to make bold claims about finding Savannah, no matter where she goes, Savannah returns and stabs a knife through Kat's skull, eventually killing her. As the dust settles, we see Wilder making it back alive, continuing to recover and give sermons at church. Cash is also seen taking his time to recover on the farm and bond with Savannah. As they grab lunch together, the film ends. I am sure you liked the story recap. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps like that.